So, I went to music school. About 10 years ago, I enrolled in a small music college outside of Atlanta, Georgia, called Atlanta Institute of Music. It's now called AIMM, Atlanta Institute of Music and Media, but that's beside the point. Now, my time there was incredibly important, and I absolutely learned the skills necessary to make a living in music. And luckily, for the past 10 years or so, I've been able to do that with a bunch of different things, teaching full-time and playing different types of gigs, both good and bad, and all kinds of stuff. But there's a few concepts, a few skills that I use on a daily basis as a guitar player that I think are crucial to making a living in music that I actually didn't learn in music school, that they didn't teach, they didn't cover. And I think whether you're a guitar player or any other instrumentalist, a hired gun, a producer, an engineer, I think these skills are really important to know if you're going to make a living or want to make a living in music in 2020 and beyond. Now, before we jump in, a quick plug. Tomorrow, November 21st, 2020, we have our next Backstage live show. This is a live concert series, a live stream concert series that I've been putting on from my home studio here for the past 6 months. This is our 5th show. If you haven't caught one live yet, I highly recommend it. It's a ton of fun. You can click the link down below to RSVP to the show. It'll take you to the live stream. You can set a reminder there so that when we go live tomorrow at 5, you'll get reminded and you can join in and catch us live. And if you're watching this video sometime in the future, you can check out the performance here. All right. Without further ado, let's jump in. So first up, the Nashville Number System. Now I'm putting this first in the video because I think it is incredibly important. No matter your instrument, you really need to master the Nashville Number System. Now we did touch on this when I was in music school, but I don't think we spent nearly enough time on fully understanding it. And it took me about a year of gigging out and playing with people that really understood the Nashville Number System before I finally started to understand how important it is. Now the Nashville Number System, if you're not familiar, is a somewhat standardized system of communicating chord progressions to other musicians quickly and efficiently. It allows you to learn and communicate chord progressions no matter the key almost instantaneously. Now, in order to know the Nashville Number System, you need to know a couple of things beforehand. First of all, your major scale and your harmonized major scale. Basically, the harmonized major scale is what chords and chord values are associated with each degree of the major scale. For instance, in the key of E, it would be something like this. Now you will need to memorize your harmonized major scale and the chord values that are associated with each degree of the harmonized major scale, but it's really not that difficult. And once you understand it, then you can quickly learn any chord progression pretty much on the spot. Now let's take a simple chord progression here. We're going to be in the key of E and we're going to play C sharp minor, A major, E major, and B major. Really common diatonic chord progression you're going to hear all the time. Now, let's say we were on a gig and the singer decided to change the key. They wanted to go from E to G. So now we got to start doing some math. We got to transpose. So C sharp in the key of E, that'd be the 6th chord, and then A, the 4 chord. You can sort of understand how confusing this gets really quickly. But if I know that we're playing a 6-4-1-5 progression, 6 chord, 4 chord, 1 chord, 5 chord, then all I have to do is plug in the formula. Oh, 6-4-1-5 in G, no problem. So hopefully you can see how valuable this is. This is also great for charting songs. Whether you're trying to learn them for a gig or you're on a session, you can listen to a song and write down the chord progression using the Roman numerals, and your chart works no matter what key you're playing in. This is also incredibly useful when you're communicating with people on stage during a gig. I can't tell you how many gigs I've been on where the music director would be calling chord changes in real time while we were performing. It's so much easier to hear a number and know instantly what to play rather than a chord name. Because in the moment, E and D and C and B and G all kind of sound the same when you have your ears in or when you're on stage. But if in the moment they want to start calling different chord progressions for a bridge and they say 2, 1/3, 4, 5, I instantly know. So if you want to start earning a living from playing music, you need to know the Nashville Number System. So one of the things that we didn't really spend a lot of time covering was sounds, tone theory, if you will. And I think this is incredibly important to guitar players especially, because if you don't know how to get a good sound out of your gear, you don't know how to get a great tone or wide variety of tones out of your instrument, then you're going to have a hard time getting hired. See, the thing is, for most of the gigs you would find yourself on, people who are hiring you are interested in how you sound. And yes, part of that is your knowledge of theory and being able to play to the song and understanding when to play and when not to play and what to play. But another huge part of that is your tone. That's what people are listening to. That's your sonic fingerprint, and that is your sound. And a huge part of finding that is understanding how a lot of this stuff works, understanding where the tone is coming from in your guitar, understanding how to set up an amplifier. Now, the amp thing was a big deal for me. When I was at school, we would have performance classes pretty much every night, and we had basically a small club that was built inside the school. Stage, full sound system, lights, the whole deal. And we had a pretty good selection of backline amps, house amps, if you will. We had some Marshalls, a matchless Starliner, some Port City stuff. But I remember my entire time at school not understanding how any of it worked. They didn't really take us through how to set up an amplifier, how to dial in an amp for a specific sound or specific guitar. What kind of tone should you be going for a certain kind of part? And I learned later that these skills are incredibly important, especially if you want to get into session work or gigging. You need to understand how to dial in great, clean sound. And then you need to know how to get a lead sound that's going to cut through the mix. Now, I think this is so important that I actually created a whole video course around this, the tone course. You can check that out down below. So what skills should you know? Well, first of all, dialing in a guitar amp. This is probably the most crucial skill, I think, because you're going to find yourself in situations a lot where you're using amps that aren't yours and you might not have a lot of experience with. But you want to understand at least the basics of how a guitar amp works in the preamp section, the tone stack, the power amp section, in order to dial in specific sounds that you might need or be looking for on a gig or a session. Next up is pedals, and at least the basics of signal flow and pedal order and how to put a pedal board together, and also understanding the basics of different types of effects. This was a big one for me when I graduated school. I had no pedal board, I had no effects, and I remember one of the first gigs I got hired for, I didn't have a delay pedal, and it was necessary. And I remember the MD for the gig literally told me after the first rehearsal, hey man, you need to go out and buy a delay pedal this week before the gig. Otherwise, we're going to have to find somebody else. Now, you may not find yourself in that position, but I did, and I learned my lesson there that at least a basic understanding of effects is crucial for a guitar player. Now, this does not mean you need to go out and spend tens of thousands of dollars accumulating massive amounts of gear that you might end up using on a session or a gig. What it means, though, is taking the gear you have and understanding how to get the widest variety of tones and the most versatility out of that gear. Even if it's the most basic setup, one guitar, a couple of pedals, and a simple amplifier, you want to be able to get the widest variety of tones possible out of that rig. And a big part of that comes from understanding how your equipment works. Now, one of the things that my school did exceptionally well was teaching music business, and they did a great job of helping someone like me who had no experience and knew no one in the business, of giving at least a basic understanding of how the music business was structured and where I would fit as a hired gun guitar player in that business. But there's one huge thing that they left out. And to be fair, it's not their fault, because when I was there in 2010, this wasn't nearly as big of a deal as it is now. But that is social media. Now, before you go running for the hills or start leaving nasty comments in the comment section about how dumb this is, hear me out. Today, This is the name of the game for musicians. You need to be on social media. You need to have at least some kind of online presence so that people can go find you. They can see you, they can hear you. Things like Instagram, this is your business card. And having a presence online can be a really smart tool to earn extra income aside from gigs, especially in a time like 2020 where there are no gigs to be had right now. I know a lot of friends of mine are leveraging their social media accounts, their Instagram followings to do things like get lessons, start teaching remote lessons and fill up a schedule that way, or get hired for remote session work. Now, does everyone out there need to go start a YouTube channel? Absolutely not. Do you need to try and get 50,000 subscribers on Instagram? Absolutely not. But there are a few things you should focus on. First of all, if you're a player and you want people to hire you, you need to post videos of you playing, and you need to post relatively consistently. Now, whether it's every day or a couple of times a week, it's dependent on you and your schedule and what you feel comfortable with, but you want to build a profile that someone can go to and instantly get a feel for your tone, your style, how do you play, and are you a good fit for what they're looking for? Now, this is not about numbers at all. It doesn't matter if you have 200 followers or 20,000 followers. It's more about putting yourself out there so people can see what you're good at. What do you sound like? The next thing is thinking about leveraging your platform to develop a business model. Maybe you want to put together some kind of video course or a PDF booklet, or you want to start teaching lessons online, Skype sessions. If you start to build a following, you can then use that platform to promote and sell these products or your time to generate income. Don't forget, as a musician, you are a business and you need to think like a business. You need to market like a business. You need to put products out like a business would. Now, your product can be your time. It can be your time being hired for a gig or a session, or your time being hired to teach someone. But at the end of the day, that is a product and it needs to be marketed and sold like a product. Now, another thing that I wish we had spent more time on when I was in school was recording, engineering, and mixing. Now, to be fair to AIMM, from what I understand, their curriculum has changed quite a bit, and they've changed it to focus more on this stuff for their players, which I think is incredibly important. This is another one of those things that's just a sign of the times. In order to be a well-rounded, marketable working musician, you have to have at least some basic skills in the recording, mixing, and engineering field, at least in my opinion. If you know how to record and you have even a basic recording setup, this opens up a world of opportunities for you to get paid to play your instrument. So if you're starting from square one, what do you need to know? The first thing I would do is pick a DAW, a DAW, or a digital audio workstation, and start to learn it inside and out. And with this in mind, I would pick one that's an industry standard. Now, I use Luna from Universal Audio because they've become a sponsor of my channel over the last year, and actually really like Luna. I like the way it sounds. But if I was starting from scratch, if I was starting from square one, I would pick up Pro Tools, Logic, or Ableton. The reason being that these are widely used. These are sort of the industry standard DAWs, so you're likely to be able to work with people and collaborate with people more easily if you're utilizing the same digital audio workstation as they are in their studio. But you want to pick a DAW and you want to start learning it inside and out. You want to learn the hotkeys. You want to learn how at least the stock plugins work. You want to learn how to edit and mix and master. You want to learn how to take sessions in and record your parts and then send them out and export files. The next thing is learning the fundamentals of recording and mixing. Those are things like gain staging, the basics of EQ, and the basics of compression. And keep in mind, these are really useful skills that will help you in more areas than just recording and mixing. If you understand EQ and compression, you have a better understanding of how an amp works and how to get the tone that's in your head out of your speakers. You also really want to learn how to properly mic your instrument. So for guitar players, how to mic a cabinet, how to mic a speaker, the differences between different types of microphones and different types of speakers, and the microphone placement on the speaker and the effect that that has on the tone. A lot like the social media thing, I think this is crucial to being a full-time musician today. You have to have these skills, and I think it's really beneficial to have even a basic home recording studio setup that you can use to work. It'll open up more opportunities for you to get paid playing your instrument. And finally, a second instrument. Now, This might be a little counterintuitive because you think, well, I'm going to music school for my one instrument. Wouldn't it make sense to just focus on that one instrument? But I think learning a second instrument will help you immensely, not just to get better at your main instrument, help you get a better understanding of the music and the harmony, but I think it'll also make you more marketable as a musician, especially in towns like Nashville and LA, where there's a lot of pop and pop country gigs around. A lot of those MDs who are booking the bands are looking for aux guys, people that can play 3-4 instruments on one gig. You can play keys, you can play acoustic guitar, electric guitar, and maybe, synth or bass or something like that. Now, when I was at school, I spent my whole time focusing on guitar, and that's what they spent the whole time teaching. But when I graduated, not long after, I picked up bass, and this was huge for me. When I started playing bass, it instantly made me a better guitar player. The reason was it completely changed how I was listening to music. When I started learning bass and trying to learn bass lines and trying to not sound like a guitar player playing bass, it completely changed where I was focusing my attention when I was listening to music. I focused way more on the rhythm section, way more on the drummer and obviously the bass player. And this completely shifted my perspective almost overnight as a guitar player. And after a while of practicing, I actually got pretty good at bass, and I've actually started gigging on bass a little bit here and there over the years. Now, it's definitely not my primary focus. It's usually been in a situation where somebody needed a bass player and I got called to fill in, but that's a gig that I booked that I might not have booked had I not been playing bass. And also, from a music production and writing standpoint, I'm now that much more proficient. If I have an idea, I can quickly throw a bass line down that's good enough to make the final mix that helps move the song along. It helps round out the production. And for me, the next two things I'd like to get really proficient at are keys and vocals. I sing a little bit of background vocals, but that's not something we focused on in music school. And keys are something that I think every musician should have at least a basic understanding of, because it'll help you understand the theory and the harmony behind what you're playing. And it opens up a world of instrumentation and sounds and sound design opportunities if you know how to play even basic keyboard parts. So those are 5 things that they don't teach you in music school, or at least they didn't teach me when I was in music school. Now, I should point out that I am incredibly grateful to have had the opportunity to go to the school that I went to go to AIMM. I would not be doing what I am today without them and without my incredible teachers. That was a huge time of growth in my life. I'm incredibly thankful for it, and I wouldn't trade it for the world. And I'll actually link AIMM's website down below if anyone out there is thinking about or curious about checking out that school. This video is not sponsored or anything like that, but it's my alma mater, and I'm proud to have gone there, and I think they deserve a little recognition. What would you add to this list? Let me know in the comments section down below. Don't forget to check out the live stream tomorrow. Actually, 3 of the guys in the band, Philip, our bass player, and Chadman, our drummer, I went to AIMM with. So don't forget to check the live stream out tomorrow, or whenever you're watching this, it'll be up here in the description box down below. If you'd like to support the channel, check out the links down below. You can buy my tone course down there. I've got a new video course in the works currently, which will be available soon. You can also check the links out to the gear used in this video. Those are affiliate links. So if you buy something, I earn a small commission, which really helps me out in making these videos. Anyways, that's all for today. My name is Rhett Shull. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed today's video, and remember, there is no plan B.